Coming to you from a studio somewhere out there, it's Enough Already Radio with Fingers Malloy and Tracy O'Connors.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. It's another Enough Already podcast. I'm Fingers Malloy. She's Tracy L. Connors. Good morning, Tracy.
Good morning, Fingers.
What have you been up to?
Normal weekend wildness.
I was part of a new podcast by Tony Katz from 93 WIBC.
Yes. Were you given a speaking role?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. I'm producing the show, and I was there with Tony and a lady by the name of Alex Clark, who is part of Joe and Alex in the Morning on Radio Now 100.9 FM in Indianapolis, and April D. Gregory, who's part of the Smart Girl podcast. And so that hit. Look for my feed at Fingers Malloy. I've been retweeting Tony. He put that out on Sunday morning, and the reason why I'm telling the story, well, one, to help promote Tony's new show, but two, at the end of the show, we recorded it Saturday afternoon, and he asked, who's the biggest phony in Washington, D.C.? And he gets to me, and I proceed to trash John McCain.
Oh, great. You trashed him while he was dying or after he died?
He may have actually been breathing his last breath as I say, hey, American hero and everything, but one of the biggest phonies in Washington, D.C. We finish recording the podcast. I get on Twitter, and it's all over the news that he passed away. So
you have impeccable timing, sir.
Right?
Yes.
So.
Do you want to retract your statements?
No, I'm comfortable with what I said.
Oh, okay.
Am I wrong?
No.
Hey, American hero. No doubt about it. But, yeah, I went there and then felt really bad about it for about 30 seconds.
So. It's probably 30 seconds too long.
Yeah, probably. But it's going to be released after he died. It was released after he died. And so I can only imagine the reaction that Tony will get, because there was some agreement.
Yes. Well, we know controversy is not a bad thing for ratings.
I guess not. So.
And I think most people agree. They just don't want to say it out loud.
Yeah, I did see today that John McCain had requested George W. Bush and Barack Obama both eulogize him.
Oh, of course.
So, which surprises me because, you know, in 2008, well before we have the current literally Hitler, who now resides in the White House, John McCain was a racist, literally Hitler back in 2008, according to lefties. So it's amazing that Barack Obama would go to his funeral and eulogize him if he was one of he was the precursor to the literally Hitler that we have now. It's amazing how this works. Uh-oh, is something going on?
Yeah, they're coming for me again. Well, it could be another fire alarm at my apartment that I ignore. I'm not sure. You'd probably hear it going off.
And it's
It'll
passed.
Yes.
So there's that. But do you have anything you want to say about Senator McCain?
Not particularly. Not anything nice. So I'll avoid that.
You're just going to hold your tongue.
I will. I think it's the polite thing to do. It's like a 48-hour rule.
You think I'm being impolite?
No.
I'm not saying anything awful.
No, you're not.
I'm not calling the guy a dirtbag.
No, we would never call him a dirtbag. Or an arrogant ass that couldn't give up his seat.
See, that would be wrong.
Right. Just had to cling to power to the last moment.
Oh.
No, and it's fun to see everybody that trashed him just reveling in his good works and saying everything nice they can possibly think of.
I bet MSNBC is even saying nice things today.
Oh, I'm certain that they are. I bet we can find some old Joy Reid blogs where she talked about how much she loved him.
No. Well, anyway, I do feel bad for the family.
Yeah. I feel bad for his mother. If you'll recall, she's still alive.
Wow. How old does she have to be at this point?
175. Well, at least as far as I know, the last time we checked on this, because we've been watching his health for some time and figured he would live forever because his mother was still alive.
Right.
So I could be wrong about that, but let us see.
But I do feel bad for the family, and I would tweet that out, but Meghan McCain blocked me on Twitter.
Yeah, she blocked me too.
Did she really?
Yeah, she blocked me years ago.
Were you trolling her?
Probably. No, she's gotten better. She's cut down on the stupid stuff she says on television. Or maybe I just don't see her as often because I don't watch TV as much. But no, I'm quite certain. But she might have unblocked me.
Oh, look at you.
I don't know. I can check. But yes, John McCain's mother, Roberta, is still alive.
Oh, that's so sad.
She's 106.
I mean, it's not sad that she's still alive. I'm saying it's so sad that she's, she watched her son get sick and pass away. That cancer is no joke.
No.
That form of cancer. There was a star this week who died. He was on Lazy Town. It was a kids show.
Okay.
And he was only 43, and he died of bile duct cancer.
Okay.
And I hadn't known much about bile duct cancer until he passed away. That may be worse than pancreatic cancer. I mean, you get that news, and it's pretty much a death sentence. But that form of brain cancer that John McCain had, life expectancy, it's ridiculously low after 2 years. I think they said that he had outlived the normal life expectancy after the diagnosis. So getting that, what do you do in that situation when you're that old?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I guess you got to try to fight, especially when you're United States Senator, and you don't want to give up that gig.
No.
I mean, I guess you cling to life and try to fight it. I don't know. I mean, when you get a diagnosis like that, where you pretty much know it's certain death, do you go through all that treatment?
I don't know. If I
Especially
was
your
that
age.
old, I don't know if I would do that.
No.
Because,
Well-
I mean, they do give you, a 10% chance. So you got to think, well, maybe.
Yeah. But, well, anyway, that was my weekend. So what news do we have regarding John McCain and his funeral? I think you have a piece, don't you?
Yeah, Vox was nice enough to put out an explainer
Oh.
on who could be appointed and how that all works, because every state has different rules governing vacancies and what happens
Okay.
to fill them. So the governor of Arizona, who is a Republican, gets to appoint somebody, and that person will hold that seat until McCain's next election would have been, which is in 2020. And then they'll have to... No, excuse me. That's not even correct. Sorry. They'll stay in office till 2020. Then they get to run and hold the seat for only 2 years, because McCain did win in 2016 re-election. So then they get to fill out his term and then they'd have to run again in 2 years.
Wow.
Yeah, it's kind of ridiculous. And they say it's required by the state law that they appoint somebody of the same party.
So there was talk at one point that they were talking about putting Cindy McCain,
of course,
in that position.
Well, yeah, she's the top of this list that
Is it?
Fox has. No, it's unbelievable. And the governor, his name is Doug Ducey. I don't know if he's related to the ever annoying Steve Ducey that appears on Fox and Friends in the morning, or not. I think it's spelled a little differently. But he's not going to appoint himself, so that's good, I guess.
That's surprising.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I mean, some people seem to think that Senate's a better gig than governor, but I kind of think that's a step down.
Well, a lot of states have term limits on governors.
True.
So you could, once you get that Senate, that sweet Senate seat in Washington, play your cards right. You could be there for. I mean, how long has Orrin Hatch been in the United States Senate? 97 years.
Pretty much, yeah.
So, no,
and
I
guess Rick Scott's running, right, for Senate in Florida after terming out.
Yeah. So.
Just can't walk away from the game. So anyway,
you get a really good table at restaurants. And people whisper as you walk into the restaurant. Of
course.
Yeah. So can't give that up.
Right. So these are the names that are being floated right now, according to Vox, which they're lifting this from a local Arizona news site called the Arizona Republic. Mm-hmm. Cindy McCain tops the list.
Wow.
She's only 64. And they describe her as a philanthropist and business leader.
By the way, good on John McCain for marrying someone who was almost 20 years younger than him.
Yes, but is she the first wife? I don't think so, right?
No.
Do we know what number she comes in?
I believe she's number 2.
Okay.
But I'm not positive on that.
You're right. He was married to a woman named Carol McCain from 1965 to 1980. So he married Cindy in 1980, and they were married until his passing.
1980?
Mm-hmm. Divorced in 1980, married in 1980.
Well, it's always... It moves me, Tracy, when someone finds young love right away after they had lost love.
Right.
So, but
yeah.
She tops the list. Any other names who may be familiar to people nationwide?
Yeah, John Kyle.
Okay.
Remember him?
No.
He was a senator from Arizona for a long time as well, and he retired. He was there from 95 to 2013.
Good Lord. This goes back to when it reminds me of what we were talking about when people were all excited that Mitt Romney was going to run for the Senate in Utah, and it's like you can't find anyone in Utah who's a conservative that could fill that seat.
Nope.
There's
Where's Evan McMullin when we need him?
Right? There's no one in Arizona who is maybe under the age of 80 that could fill that seat.
Hey, John Kyle is 76.
Oh, I apologize.
He was actually pretty decent, if I remember correctly. But I feel like he had some scandal or something, and that's why he left.
Well, people forget.
Of course. Well, and whoever it is, maybe at least they'll show up to vote.
Well, there's that.
No, I guess not. I'm not seeing that he had a scandal. I don't know why he left then. This seems so strange.
How can you just walk away?
Yeah. Maybe he should go back. Yeah, and they're saying, here's an article I found from Roll Call on him. He was tapped to guide Brett Kavanaugh through his nomination process.
Oh, who is the devil, by the way?
Oh, yes. Yes, we've turned up the volume on that whole deal. I see one more. Oh, he's going to overturn Roe v. Wade.
He is alone? It's amazing.
I don't know. I just picture this like statue to Roe v. Wade and him just tipping it. Like how he's going to overturn it. This nonsense. And we're going to scaremonger. They got to get people out to vote, you know.
Yeah, just like a General Robert E. Lee statue in the South. It's just going to topple over. Wow. No, but again, there's no one in their 40s that they can put in that job, and the person has to have the last name McCain.
Potentially.
Ugh.
Well, they do have somebody. They're saying Kirk Adams, who's 45, and he's Ducey, the governor's chief of staff, and a former lawmaker who ran unsuccessfully for Congress in 2012. So the people of Arizona very much like this man, apparently.
So much so that he lost.
Yes. So we'll just give him a seat. Why not?
You sound like Oprah.
Yeah.
You get a seat. You get a seat.
You get a Senate seat. Sure. Sure. But they're saying, you know, there is a Senate race going on right now in Arizona to replace, who was it, Thune?
Yeah.
No, Flake. Jeff Flake, who retired because he can't take it anymore.
Oh, it's too much.
It is.
The partisanship.
Yes, he can't wait for that gig on cable news where partisanship has no place.
Kelly Ward is running on the Republican side.
Yes, they're saying Martha McSally too, but she's already running for Senate, and Kelly Ward is also running for Senate. So have they not had their damn primary yet?
I don't know. I know that people... I don't want to get into it.
Okay.
What's the name?
Yeah, they have their I guess their primaries this Tuesday. Unbelievable.
It just doesn't make any sense to me. And then you have less than 8 weeks.
Yeah. I don't know.
For the general. Well, it'll be, let's see. Tuesday, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 9 weeks.
Mm-hmm. Apparently Joe Arpaio's in that race. This is news to me.
Oh my gosh. What was that show that you used to watch on HBO about politics, and they would follow campaigns around, and they were at CPAC.
The circus.
The circus. That sounds like a circus down there.
Yes.
Because Kelly Ward could say some wacky things, and then Sheriff Joe is just a mess.
Yes. Pretty much.
They can't find anyone in Arizona?
Oh, that's nice. I'm reading this article. It's a Fox News article about the primary. Mm-hmm. And they're talking about the rhetoric. I guess they had a debate in July, and McSally and Ward kind of hit each other over credentials and who has more solid policy positions. But the attacks also got personal at one point. This is a quote from Ward. She said, "And you know, I'm not a trained killer," Ward said in reference to McSally's military service. Oh, "I'm a trained problem solver. I'm a trained leader, and I think that's what we need in Washington." Then they said Ward's husband has also said that Arpaio, who's 86, is unlikely to live long enough to serve out a full term.
Well, that's true.
I know, but we're not allowed to say such things. You can't point out facts like that.
I know. Why can't you just get up on stage and say, this is ridiculous that an 86-year-old man is running for this seat?
Right. Oh, but I wanted to go back to see, remember when the White House staffer, the little slip up and said John McCain's going to die anyway?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to remember what that was in reference to, and that was in reference to the Gina Haspel, is that her name? The new head of the CIA.
Oh, and did he come out against her? I can't remember.
Yes.
I mean, there's a daily outrage, sometimes 2 daily outrages, and everything gets it gets very confusing to try to follow all this stuff, Tracy, and retain the information.
Mm-hmm.
Especially, it's getting to the point where I just don't care about any of it anymore.
No,
it's like,
I can understand that.
Feh.
I can understand that, but I did want to look something up, and guess what? John McCain voted to confirm John Brennan as the head of the CIA.
Well, there you go. Is that a surprise?
Well, kind of. I mean, he was very upset about Gina Haskell because, she was involved with the torture stuff. But we're not going to bat an eye at John Brennan. He seems like a fine, upstanding man that would never engage in torture or extrajudicial killing of people or anything like that.
No, he's a maverick.
Oh, man.
I mean,
do you think Trump's going to go to the funeral?
No. Pence will be there.
Melania will get sent in his
Probably.
stead.
But, the litmus test for me when it comes to a Republican senator is would he feel more comfortable having lunch with Justin Amash or Hillary Clinton?
Okay.
And
that seems pretty fair, yeah.
And you know the answer to that question.
Yes. What do you call hobbits? Trolls?
Well, he referred to the Tea Party people as wacko birds. So, and again, probably shouldn't be talking about all this because he just passed away.
Oh.
But I don't think we're saying anything incredibly mean.
No. And we're just speculating on who's going to be invited to the funeral. Do you think Sarah Palin will get to go?
Yes. And I think she'll be there because she's classy.
Yeah. They won't let her speak, though, I would imagine.
Probably not because, she's the reason why he wasn't president of the United States.
Oh, 100%.
Couldn't have been that he was a lousy candidate.
Right, no. And couldn't have been, I'm suspending my campaign to go back to Washington and make sure we throw a whole bunch of money at problems right now. Got to get this bailout through.
Well, he's a maverick.
Yes. Voted for John Brennan. Unbelievable.
So, no, I'm sure she'll be there. I would think Hillary will be there.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Hillary, maybe Bill will go with her.
Maybe
they'll travel as a married couple.
Don't get
crazy.
Yeah, no. Well, I don't know. It could be good TV. She's out raising money for the midterms.
Oh,
who pays to be in a room with that woman?
I don't know what you're talking about. When she gives a speech, she electrifies a room.
Oh.
I mean, seriously. She inspires naps.
Yeah, she could put Ambien out of business.
And it'll be something ridiculous, too, where she'll speak at a $10,000 a plate fundraiser. You're like, I spent $10,000 on rubber chicken and listening to Hillary Clinton give a speech. No thanks. I think I'll pass. Can I just send the money and not show up?
Why would you even send the money, though?
I'm talking if I'm a lefty.
Mm.
Like, do I have to sit through 3 hours of this crap?
Yes.
Awful meal. Talking to a bunch of people. Who needs that? Who needs to go out in public and talk to strangers?
Mm.
And then sit through a 45-minute fireside chat with Hillary Clinton.
Mm.
They'll actually bring a fake fireplace up on stage. Let's all gather around the fire. Ugh. So who else?
Oh, ooh.
I guess Jimmy Carter is really sick again, so I don't know if the Carters will make it.
Probably not. Lindsey Graham will be
of course.
inconsolable.
Oh my gosh. He'll be a grieving widow.
Mm-hmm.
Boy.
Well, it'll be interesting to see the press corps, how many of them are going to get invites.
You think the Morning Joe crew will be there?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I haven't seen anything about where the funeral is going to be. I assume he's going to, what do they call that, lying in state?
Probably.
Yep, John McCain to lie in state at capitals in Washington and Arizona. There's something a little grotesque about carting a corpse all over the country. Or that just could be me.
Listen to this. This is from Ryan Struck
Okay.
of CNN.
Mm-hmm.
John McCain's favorability ratings by party via Fox News poll. Democrats, 60% favorable, 29% unfavorable. Republicans, 41% favorable, 48% unfavorable.
There you go. That's all I needed to know. I'm not seeing where they're having the actual service, but he's going to be buried at in Annapolis. He was a Navy guy, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Navy pilot, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, Obama put out a statement.
Oh.
How lovely.
You gonna give us a little tease? Is that what he said?
John McCain and I were members of different generations, came from completely different backgrounds, and competed at the highest level of politics. But we shared, for all our differences, a fidelity to something higher, the ideals for which generations of Americans and immigrants alike have fought, marched, and sacrificed.
Everything has to be political.
Yep. We saw our political battles even as a privilege, something noble, an opportunity to serve as stewards for those high ideals at home and to advance them around the world. Oh, yeah, there we go. Spreading the empire together. We saw this country as a place where anything is possible, and citizenship as our patriotic obligation to ensure it forever remains that way. Few of us have been tested the way John once was, or required to show the kind of courage that he did, but all of us can aspire to the courage to put the greater good above our own. At John's best, he showed us what that means, and for that, we are all in his debt. Michelle and I send our most heartfelt condolences to Cindy and their family. Notice how they avoid the thoughts and prayers.
Yeah, of course. Well, the other thing too that cracks me up is he had to bring himself into this.
Of course.
He's every bit the narcissist Trump is.
Yes.
Except he's a much more polished narcissist. And the other thing too, again, you can't just honor the man without throwing some politics into the statement. Right. Can't do it.
And here's Bush's statement to juxtapose it with Obama's, and you'll see the difference. So that was a tweet that Obama put out. It looks like it's on Instagram. It's just interesting. I didn't know W was on Instagram, but I guess that's where he goes to share his paintings.
Oh.
Yes, remember, he's quite the painter. Okay. Some lives are so vivid it's difficult to imagine them ended. Okay. Shouldn't it say ending? I don't know. Anyway, I continue. Some voices are so vibrant it's hard to think of them as stilled. John McCain was a man of deep conviction and a patriot of the highest order. He was a public servant in the finest traditions of our country, and to me, he was a friend whom I'll deeply miss. Laura and I send our heartfelt sympathies to Cindy and the entire McCain family, and our thanks to God for the life of John McCain. That's a little non-political and mostly about John.
Yeah, mostly. Almost all.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Exactly.
Classy.
Yeah. Well, classier than Obama, sure. That's not hard, though. It's not. The man is just all about himself. And now he's going to get to stand up there and give a eulogy. For a man I have no doubt he absolutely despised. But this is politics, right?
You think he despised him?
Oh, I think so. I think he dislikes most people, especially anybody who would dare to go against him.
But John McCain was the perfect candidate to go against Barack Obama if you're in Barack Obama's shoes.
That's true. Yeah.
He was the Washington Generals.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, I'm sure he has more disdain for Hillary. And notice how she's not asked to eulogize, but she was also never a president. Remember that one every day, kids. But Bill wasn't asked to give a eulogy either.
Wonder why that is.
I don't know.
Well,
maybe he hit on Cindy one time. We'll never know.
That's soon to be Senator McCain.
Oh, sorry. Sorry. Yeah. I wonder if have you ever been on the site Predict It? You like betting.
I've heard of it, but I have not been on the site. Do they have the odds already up there?
I'm going right now.
God, the body's still warm.
Well, you can request for things, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I would imagine that probably went up last night. U.S. elections, Senate. Oh, but it wouldn't be. It wouldn't be a Senate election.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let me see if I can search this.
God, there's nobody in Arizona other than Cindy McCain?
Nope. No, I guess not. So far, I'm not seeing who will replace John McCain. It's got to go up soon, though.
Look, they had to have been prepping this for some time.
Yes, they've had plenty of advanced warning.
I was shocked that he died yesterday.
Really?
Yeah, and Tony had that same reaction when the show was over. He's like, "You're surprised he died?" I said, the family just released a statement yesterday. Or, Friday. Saying he was not going to pursue further treatment. Mm-hmm. I thought, okay, maybe a couple of weeks.
Oh.
Dead the next day.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really clinging on to life, isn't it?
I guess so, yeah.
Unless they made the decision, a few weeks ago and didn't make the announcement.
It could be.
But holy moly, I mean, you know what? We decided we're not going to pursue further treatment. Dead the next day.
Yeah, I'm guessing they made that decision before but didn't make it public.
Yeah, must not have. Maybe they, made the decision and figured, okay, maybe he'll have some time. And then there was a quick decline. They probably said, well, we have to make an announcement because he may not be around much longer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I didn't think we were going to talk about John McCain for half an hour.
No, neither did I.
I just picture Barack Obama up at the podium, his head up.
Yes.
Chin
stick jutting out.
Yeah. Eyes closed. I'm making
leading
history here.
Amazing Grace for everybody.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, God.
Well, what else is going on?
There's plenty going on.
Okay, you read Omarosa's book?
I did. I actually listened to it.
Oh, you listened to it. Does she read it?
Yes.
Really?
Yes. And I wanted to give a little plug, not that they're a sponsor or anything, but I wouldn't turn them down if they came to us. I don't know. Are you familiar with the website Scribd?
No.
SCRIBD?
Mm-mm.
A lot of times people post documents on there to share. So it's almost like a Dropbox for everybody.
Okay.
I don't know if you're familiar with Dropbox.
Yes, I use Dropbox. Okay. As a successful podcast producer. And radio host Tracy L. Connors. I use Dropbox all the time.
Oh, so anyway, it's a document sharing site.
Mm-hmm.
Is an easier way to explain it. So, and I've gone to it over the years. People put, Hillary's emails up on there. Well, not Hillary's emails, but the IG report, when that came out, I think that was hosted there because it was so long and makes it easier. And you'll see it. And now that I've said it, you're going to see it embedded in different stories all the time because they have direct embeds.
Okay.
To documents. Like when I went to go find out what the hell Manafort was actually charged with, like what he was found guilty of. Yeah. It's a scribe doc. But anyway, so apparently you can pay for a subscription to that. And when you do that, you get access to books and audiobooks. And it's less than $9 a month. It's 8 something. And versus Audible that I pay for, which is 14, and I get one free ebook a month. This is unlimited. So I was like, I should try this out. So the most popular audiobook was Omarosa's book, read by Omarosa.
Okay.
So I thought, okay, I wasn't going to pay for this, but I'll sure as hell listen to it.
Mm-hmm.
It's quite interesting. She's got, you know how Cartman says skew?
Yes.
So does Omarosa.
Really?
Yes. She's from Ohio, which I didn't know. And I have to tell you, the majority, I'd say 45% of the book is about her, which is rather disappointing and boring. But she's also an egomaniac.
Mm-hmm.
And she's also I think she gives away a little too much by telling you how maniacal and how much of forethought she had given to her behavior on The Apprentice. Oh, yeah. She'd studied all this stuff. So she went, when she decided, I want to say she has some bullshit about how she saw Hillary speak. And it made her want to be that.
Be what? Boring?
Be an inspiration and all this nonsense. No, she worked in the Clinton White House. And then in Gore's office. And then she jumped over to the Clinton side for a little while. And then went back to Gore's campaign.
Mm.
So, and she was a Democrat, of course.
Mm-hmm.
But then she wanted to be like a TV. She was on her college television news, whatever the hell kind of thing. And
local PBS station.
Yes, pretty much.
Yeah.
And spent a lot of time thinking about how to craft a good television persona. So she gets to try out for The Apprentice. And of course, she's like, it was supposed to be a 10-minute interview. And then we were in there for over an hour. Because she's so fascinating. I mean, she does have a semi-interesting life story.
How old is she?
Let me Google. My guess is she's in her 40s. Would be.
Has she ever been married with kids?
Oh, yeah. No kids. She had a miscarriage.
Oh.
But she got married pretty young the first time.
Mm-hmm.
And then she divorced him, and it's kind of like a side note in her little whole journey.
Huh.
She's like, oh, yeah. So she's been married twice, but was basically engaged to Michael Clark Duncan, who was an actor. He was in The Green Mile.
Mm.
And then I think he had, I want to say, a stroke or an aneurysm or something. And there was quite the fight between his family and hers. No, she found him in the book. She says they were laying in bed together, and she started hearing he had fallen asleep, and then his breathing became erratic and then stopped.
Ooh.
And then she tried to resuscitate him, but he never fully recovered. He was in the hospital for a couple months. But then there was some ugly fight between his family and her over the estate. So she is, let me see. She's 44. So anyway, she gets onto The Apprentice, decides that one of the best things is to have no friends. No loyalties at all. But she was convinced from the jump. I mean, this whole thing is incredibly racial. because she's convinced now. She didn't see it for 15 years, mind you, of being with Trump, but she's thoroughly convinced that he is a racist.
Oh,
and she
course.
says it in like this breathy, whispered voice. Like, that's when I discovered that Donald Trump was a racist. So the first season of The Apprentice, she is the only black woman, and there's some guy, I want to say his name is Kwame or something, that's the only black guy. And when it came down to it, she got fired before the end, but was brought back to help on the final challenge. She helped Kwame or whatever. Mm-hmm. And then when it came down to it, she's like, I knew he wouldn't win, that the white guy would win, whatever. And so Bill Rancic ends up winning. But then she kept coming back. Like, she was doing really well for the show and getting them good ratings, and Trump loved her and all this kind of stuff. And they went on to have, I guess, another show together that she was given an executive producer title on, where it was a dating show for her called The Ultimate Merger.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
That's awful.
Yes. And it was on like TV One or something. No, it had one season with her, and then she met Michael Clark Duncan and said she didn't want to do another season because she didn't need to find a husband anymore.
That's beautiful.
Of course.
Young love is a beautiful thing, Tracy.
It really is.
Getting misty.
So she goes through all that with Trump. You know, he gives her that gig, and it works out okay. And then I can't remember what she does in the intervening years then. Oh, she becomes a Baptist minister. Of course. Right?
Right.
That's the kind of persona that she built herself. You think, oh, this is a loving woman who keeps Jesus in her heart at all times. Well, she's on a course to just destroy all of her enemies and make herself the most hated woman on reality television.
Did you watch that show?
The Apprentice?
Yeah.
No. I mean, I've seen some episodes of it, but I never was invested in a full season. But I do remember her. I mean, she was everywhere, and that was like Talk Soup was at its height.
Yeah.
I feel like then, so she made the clips every week.
I loved that show. Talk Soup, not The Apprentice.
Yeah. No, The Apprentice was sometimes fun, like when Joan Rivers was on there. That was entertaining. Rodman was on a couple seasons. They brought her back a couple times because she was like, oh, you know, the ratings tanked and all this stuff, and Trump would just lie about how good it was, and then they decided to shake it up and do Celebrity Apprentice to try to boost ratings, and so he brought her back for that, and then they had an all-star season, so she just kept coming back and back and back to work for this man that was so horrible that she didn't recognize.
Yeah, I don't understand. If he's such a bigot, why would you continue to work for him?
Right. Well, she didn't know.
Oh.
That's the thing. It never applied to her somehow.
Oh, I see.
But, you know, in retrospect, because that's what she kept saying. Oh, you know, when he said XYZ, looking back on it now. Like, she's totally accepted that frame and is just going to reframe all of her memories as such. So she's talking about one time when they were doing The Ultimate Merger, they had brought in, I can't remember who the men were. I think they were all black. I don't know. She kind of listed off some of them as like football players and or professional athletes, and then maybe an actor or two, and then some business type dudes. But there had been some shenanigans at a pool. I think they were at the Trump property in Vegas, and they destroyed some stuff. So he called her up, and when she does him, it's really funny. I wish I could get clips of it for you, because she almost makes him sound like Joe Pesci in Goodfellas. Like, Omarosa, what the hell's going on down there? I heard there was a ruckus at the pool. What are those people doing? And so those people, of course.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. Yes. We all know that you would never use that phrase.
Right.
Unless you were a racist. So then when the campaign comes, she had initially worked for 2 years on the Ready for Hillary side. Remember that PAC?
No.
Oh, okay.
I'll take your word for it, though.
Yes, there was a PAC that was formed that was basically considered like the on-deck circle for Hillary's campaign. So she came into that I think an African American outreach position, and the guy that was the head of all that was just like, "Look, dude, this is our way into the campaign. It's a sure thing." And she talked to Mignon, what is it, Mignon Conyers?
I'm sorry. No, I none of these names stick. I'm getting older.
I know.
Tracy.
I'm just trying to think of. She's a congressman's daughter.
Well, I'm sure.
And her name is Mignon after the
Conyers.
fillet cut.
Yeah.
No, it's true. That's how she spells her name. And she's been a political operative for years. And so she called Omarosa, checked in with her to make sure that joining the Ready for Hillary PAC was the way to get into the campaign. And remember, she's worked for the Clintons before. Mm-hmm. So, yes, that's the way to go. So she spends 2 years working for that PAC. And then when it's official time, and I think this is after, no, it's got to be before. It's when Hillary announces and it becomes official that she's actually running. That's when the PAC changes over to like Hillary for America, maybe, or something like this. And then it can deal with her campaign, and we're going to pluck staffers from there was the thinking. And so she thinks her ticket is written. And then she gets an email from the gentleman who had brought her in saying, yeah, by the way, we're not getting hired. They've picked somebody else to run the African American outreach side. So she's devastated and pissed at Hillary. And then very soon after, Trump announces, and she gets a call from, she says, Michael Cohen, who she quite liked. And she met him during the Apprentice days. And he's another one that she turns into a New York Goomba. And then he asks her to come on the campaign. So she's got a lot of back and forth with him and Corey, who I guess she liked. And so she joins the campaign and starts doing outreach. But she says that, they gave her no money and no support. So she's just pulling together all these wonderful, amazing events for him.
With no budget.
Yeah, no budget. No budget whatsoever. No budget, no recognition. Mm. And then she gets the job that she wants in the White House eventually, although Priebus tried to block her, apparently. Mm-hmm. And
so are all these people racist, by the way, that you brought up? Is Cohen a racist, and Corey and
No, she doesn't talk about that, but she does talk about she and it's really difficult for me because I just think that she's so full shit. Mm-hmm. And this is all calculated.
Right.
And like I said, she kind of gives away how calculated she is in all of her stuff, that it's kind of hard to take her at face value, anything that she says, because this is so orchestrated to align perfectly with what everybody on, my favorite Cartoon Network thinks. No, it fits perfectly. And she was a Democrat for a long time. So it's not completely out of left field, but it's so transparent to me. Oh, okay. Now you want it out. She says she was going to leave in January anyway, and then John Kelly locks her in the Situation Room and fires her in December. And now she's on the warpath to destroy because she has to. It doesn't make any sense, but I'm sure she thought this was going to catapult her into stardom, and who knows where she was going to go from there.
Maybe a weekend gig at MSNBC.
It could be. Or another reality show, because she did leave and then immediately go on Celebrity Big Brother. Mm. Because that was the only way she was guaranteed to get away from all the noise. Because when you're on that show, you're not allowed to have a cell phone or any contact with the outside world.
I think maybe you're skeptical of her motives because you didn't watch her find true love on The Ultimate Merger.
No, I didn't. She did find true love, and she did get married during her time at the White House.
Oh, that's beautiful.
To a minister who said he decided he wanted to marry her after seeing her sermon or something, which I can't imagine. It's such a weird dichotomy in that woman, that she could be a good, loving Christian and then behave like this. But What do I know? So
It's all WWE anyway.
pretty much.
They're
So
friends. They're friends 1 minute, and then she gets fired, and then she hits Donald Trump in the back with a steel chair. This is how it works.
Yes. So she talked about election night, and the popular stories are like, everybody thought they were going to lose. Melania was off in a corner sulking and totally distraught, and she says that this is not true at all.
Mm-hmm.
That everybody was jubilant and they thought they were going to win and it was exciting, and then they did. And she was on stage that night at 3:00 in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
And Donald Trump gave her a hug and a kiss and thanked her, but racist. So I think it was at that event, perhaps, where she says at one point she confronted Steve Bannon and asked him about his racism.
Oh, for Christ's sake.
I know. It's just trying to picture that conversation. It brings me such joy. It's just, she really walk up to Steve Bannon and say, "So, Steve, I heard you're a racist. Care to comment?"
I don't know. I have only met and talked to. I've met Steve Bannon and interviewed him a couple of times. Mm-hmm. Couldn't have been nicer to me. Mm-hmm. But I get the impression from Steve Bannon that if she actually did something like that, it would take him about 1.3 seconds to tell her to go screw herself.
Well, according to her, his answer was, "No, I'm not. You're a proud black woman, which I have no problem with, just as you should have no problem with the fact that I am a proud white man." Or something to this effect. Okay. And so she accepted that and moved along.
No, that's a nicer response than I would have expected.
Right. Well, maybe it's bullshit then.
Well, look, if somebody comes up and you're not a racist and they get in your face and ask why you're a racist, I guess there are two ways to handle it, and I don't know. Anyway, go ahead.
So she goes into the White House, gets her little Office of the Public Liaison gig, and everything is going fine for a little while. I think they had the presidents of the historically black colleges and universities come in February of 2017, and that was the infamous Kellyanne Conway's on the couch barefoot taking a photograph.
Oh yeah.
And that upstages them, and how dare they allow that to have happened. And so that becomes the story. And she's more mad at the White House and Kellyanne than the press for deciding to focus on that. And so...
Well, that was a huge story, Tracy.
Oh, yeah. What a scandal. Kellyanne had to make it about herself. It's like, come on, really? So that was upsetting to her. And then, of course, Charlottesville.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when she can no longer answer all the questions that people keep asking her everywhere she goes. Like, why do you work for this racist? And she claims she's never seen it. And throughout peppered are the stories of the infamous N-word tapes from the Apprentice days that she's convinced exist. And she calls, I guess she's talking to, this is where Frank Luntz comes into this, which I think we talked about before. She's talking to Katrina Pearson about it, and Pearson tells her that Frank Luntz told Pearson that yes, the tape exists and he's heard it. And now why Frank Luntz, of all people, would have heard this tape is never questioned. You're telling me a Republican pollster, Fox News contributor, has heard a tape owned by NBC.
This is so ridiculous that people think that this tape exists. During the campaign, Grab Him by the Pussy comes out.
Yes.
But a tape that could ultimately destroy him, what are they saving it for?
Yeah, I don't know. And how much would get paid for that tape?
Oh.
You don't think Tom Steyer would stop running his stupid multi-million-dollar impeach Trump campaign to pay for that tape instead?
Oh. I'm surprised someone hasn't tried to fake it.
Well, they could. And now we won't know. And if it ever surfaces, that'll be the defense. But I think if it existed, we would have heard it by now.
Yes, I think so too.
So anyway, Charlottesville happens, and that's when she decides she's going to start planning her exit. She's going to leave in January because that's the thing to do. Serve a year and then get the hell out. But then she continues doing stuff the whole time. And she's bringing in, again, she has some beef with DeVos, but she brings in the heads of HBCUs again, which begs the question, like, why, if this man is such an awful racist, why you keep parading the heads of the HBCUs in? She holds this big event at the White House where they bring in a bunch of students from these colleges, and it's all great and wonderful. But she's just doing it to serve out her year. And then John Kelly locks her in the Situation Room in December and tells her to get the F out. She's devastated and must furiously crank out this book.
Wow.
Yes.
It sounds like a page turner.
It is entertaining to listen to her read. The voices she gives people are funny. And her saying skew.
Oh. Well, we're an hour in.
I know.
Should we wrap this puppy up?
We can.
You can listen to the Enough Already podcast on SoundCloud, Stitcher, TuneIn, iTunes, YouTube, and BitChute, ladies and gentlemen. By the way, we're getting a lot of listeners from the Middle East, Tracy.
That's very cool.
And what's amazing is they started listening to, we used to do the Enough Already daily briefly.
Mm-hmm.
We'd spend 3 minutes on a story, throw it up there. And people have, in Egypt and Turkey, Pakistan, they've gravitated to this daily briefly 3-minute podcast on Clock Boy. If you remember Clock Boy.
I remember Clock Boy.
Down in Texas. It's amazing. When did we do that? Probably a year and a half ago? When was Clock Boy a thing? I can't remember.
Oof. I don't know. Long enough that Ben Shapiro's already run his lawsuit against him.
But it's wild how something like that can be picked up. And so we not only welcome our listeners in the United States, we also welcome our international listeners too. Enough Already. SoundCloud, Stitcher, TuneIn, iTunes, YouTube, and BitChute. Final thoughts?
I got a good story for next week that we didn't get to that you'll appreciate.
Okay. That's a tease.
It is.
That's what they call it in the biz.
Yeah.
So you'll have to tune in to hear that story next week. I'm Fingers. Facey. That's what I was going to say.
Oh.
Facey.
God. That's not a good celebrity couple name.
I'm Fingers. She's Tracy. We'll be back next week with an all-new Enough Already.